Speaking of freak athletes, Caitlin Clark effect has now hit the WNBA. It has been announced today.
But the best basketball of the weekend, the best player in America, the best shooter in America, Caitlin Clark.
Let's talk about Caitlin Clark's meteoric rise.
And they all stayed the course. She allowed her teammates to lead her in certain moments and calm her down in certain moments while still playing the game and being herself out there on the floor, while also dealing with a ton of BS and noise off the court.
We're not just talking about any rookie here. Clark has been lighting up the court with stats that are jaw-dropping.
Caitlin Clark is box office. She's doing this. And instead of giving her credit, y'all tried to make it about, oh, y'all poo-pooing the old guard. Y'all never talked about the old guard like this.
19.2 points and 8.4 assists per game. That's not just impressive, it's leading the league.
I love the point that you made about Caitlin Clark in terms of the BS that she had to deal with off the court. We got to remember she's been box office. She was the main attraction, and there were so many storylines that's been associated with her. Most recently, the whole thing with her and Cheryl Swoops, even though it really wasn't her. It was Cheryl Swoops and all this. Every time you turned around, there was something that she had to deal with.
But here's the kicker. She's not only excelling in assists, she's also a three-point shooting sensation.
The reason I bring that up, and I love that, because as a rookie, ladies and gentlemen, put this in perspective. Caitlin Clark finished the regular season leading rookies in scoring, field goals made, three-point field goals made, assists, steals, and minutes played, and she led the league in assists and three-pointers made. Think about that for a second, and like Shannon says, ultimately, you first team, you one of those people. So we got and fourth in the league in MVP voting.
Can you believe a rookie is dominating both playmaking and scoring? It's like she's playing chess while everyone else is stuck on checkers.
They tried to minimize her, said, well, you giving her all this credit. What about the women that came before her? What the women came before her, what they did cannot be taken away. That ain't got nothing to do with Caitlin Clark. But there was a lot of people tried to make sure they keep Caitlin Clark in her place, because what you're doing, if you give her all this shine, you minimize what they done. You can't minimize what Maya Moore or Candace Parker or Lisa Leslie or Lauren Jackson or Diana Taurasi or Simone Augustus or any of the other great players. That Caitlin Clark, what she's doing doesn't minimize what they've done.
You might wonder if she's really that extraordinary, and let me tell you, she is.
But we should have been giving her the credit. We saw the ratings, we saw the merchandise sales, we saw the attendance, but y'all want to make it about something else. Oh, what about the women that laid the foundation? What about this? What about it? That ain't got nothing to do with Caitlin Clark.
Clark made history as the first rookie in WNBA history to achieve 2 triple-doubles.
Caitlin Clark, unanimous rookie of the year. But what's even more impressive, she's first team WNBA. First.
That's right, too. She's not just breaking records, she's redefining what it means to be a rookie.
That the Fever are having on the economy in Indianapolis, in the WNBA, in the world of sports. And frankly, it's amazing. Now, you all know the backstory. Angel Reese in college did all this and all this, mocking, of course, our girl, Caitlin Clark.
Of course, success has its costs, and Clark is feeling it with some bruises along the way.
I think she's spectacular. I think she's going to be the biggest box office attraction in women's basketball in short order. I know it sounds like I could be a bit biased. I had the pleasure, as I've told you on several occasions, of doing an interview with her. And when I was there with her on stage to do something with her, 10,000 people showed up.
Get this, 177% of the league's flagrant fouls have been committed against her.
This woman is special. She is a marksman. She is the Steph Curry of women's basketball. And I understand the Cheryl Swoops of the world or anybody else. There's a lot of players that have been excellent in women's basketball throughout the best. UNESCO is obviously spectacular. We see various others as well. I remember the days of Cheryl Swoops and Cynthia Cooper and how big Lisa Leslie and how big time they all were. And I'm not taking anything away, but when you consider the evolution of the game of women's basketball.
That's not a coincidence, folks. It's a sign that the veterans are feeling the heat.
Really intrigued because there's a league with players that feel like they should be getting the attention. Now they have center stage, but the ratings are going to go down. How far, though? That's the key.
It's not just about playing against Clark. They're up against a real powerhouse.
It's going to be, before the argument was the league is much more than this one girl. that came into the league,
Right.
and we've established it. And hey, look at the numbers everywhere else across women's basketball. It's not just Caitlin Clark; it's all of us. And then the moment the ratings tank, they're going to come back and say, "See, we were right all along. It's all the racists that follow Caitlin Clark that were watching the product, and now they're gone, and we're back with our diehards." And that's the ratings that you're seeing. Actual W fans. Not WNBA, actual W fans.
Let me get it right.
That's going to be the argument.
And she truly is one. Clark isn't just transforming her team's chances. She's reshaping the whole scene of women's basketball.
But is that going to be a headline when they dip when she's not playing? And now they have to go through the postseason. They're going head-to-head with the NFL. We pointed that out yesterday, which isn't smart.
Clark's team has made it to the playoffs for the first time since 2016. This isn't just a bounce back, it's a total turnaround.
Numbers are going to be up year to year because Caitlin Clark wasn't in the WNBA last year. So ESPN is going to spin this as a positive that their playoffs will be much higher rated than they were a year ago, even the playoffs without Caitlin Clark.
Yes.
But because they were so low, that really isn't telling you the whole story.
All this excitement has led to something big. Clark was named the Associated Press Unanimous Rookie of the Year. That's right. Every single voter recognized her impact and said she's the one.
28 years, the numbers were stellar. Caitlin Clark drew a whole new fan base into it. And now the question is, because she has been eliminated, she and the Indiana Fever are eliminated after losing 2 games to the Connecticut Sun. What is the rest of the season going to look like, ratings-wise, for the WNBA? Are people still going to care? That is the question on everybody's mind. Because when you look at the numbers with Caitlin Clark there, her first playoff game, drawing 1.84 million viewers. Ridiculous numbers. The highest rated playoff game since Game 2 of the 2000 WNBA Finals. This wasn't even just an opening round game back in 2000. This was one of the finals games. So this clearly is showing how much of an impact Caitlin Clark is having.
This isn't just an award. It feels like a crowning moment. While Clark is making headlines, some veteran players aren't quite ready to pass the torch just yet.
Obviously, it's always important to give credit where it's due. And I think we all realize where the credit needs to be given as far as the success of this WNBA season. Caitlin Clark came in and made such an impact on how many people started to care about the WNBA. This was the highest viewed season in the history of the league.
Why would a veteran like Bonner go after a rookie? The answer might surprise you, and it's shaking up the WNBA in unexpected ways. This matchup between Clark and Bonner isn't just about 2 players. It represents the evolution of women's basketball. On one side, you have DeWanna Bonner, a seasoned player who has dominated for years. On the other, there's Caitlin Clark, the rookie sensation who is making headlines and breaking records left and right. You might wonder why Bonner, with all her experience, would feel threatened by a rookie. That's where it gets intriguing. Clark isn't just your typical rookie. She's a powerhouse who is shaking up the very core of how the game is played in the WNBA. Imagine this. Clark is on the court showcasing a style that's more finesse than the physical, aggressive play the league is accustomed to. It's almost as if she's wearing a target on her back. She's not just putting points on the board, she's reshaping the game itself. For veterans like Bonner, who have built their careers on a traditional style of play, this feels like an earthquake shaking everything they know. But Clark proves she's more than just talent. In the heat of the moment, with emotions running high, she said, "I stay focused about what's on the floor and my 4 other teammates that are right here with me." Can you believe it? In the midst of all that drama, Clark is still focused on her teammates. That's not just talent, that's true leadership. This incident reflects the broader changes happening in the WNBA. Clark's playing style isn't just challenging individual opponents, it's shaking up the entire league's norms. She's not merely participating, she's redefining the game, and that's what everyone is buzzing about. It's no longer just about scoring points, it's about the essence of women's basketball. Clark embodies a new wave of players who are bold, willing to take risks, and ready to stir things up. Change can be uncomfortable, especially for those who have dominated for so long. So when you witness these intense moments on the court, remember it's more than just a game. It's a struggle for the future of the WNBA. Clark isn't just competing against other teams. She's pushing the entire league to evolve and improve. And if you think the drama ended when they left the court, think again. This flashpoint has triggered a ripple effect that has everyone in the basketball community talking. You've heard of game changers, but what about league changers? That's exactly what Caitlin Clark could be, and not everyone is pleased about it. The clash with Bonner didn't just disappear after the final whistle. It continues to resonate throughout the league. Suddenly everyone's talking about whether the league's officiating standards are up to snuff. That's right, some people believe she needs a bodyguard on the court. It feels like the WNBA is becoming the Wild West, and Clark is stepping in as the new sheriff. And it's not just fans and analysts who are adding to the excitement. Charles Barkley never went to mince words, called out what he sees as petty jealousness towards Clark. Can you believe it? A Hall of Famer is practically saying that some WNBA veterans are envious of this rookie's talent. But let's take a step back. This isn't just about Clark and Bonner or a single heated moment on the court. It's about how Clark is pushing the entire WNBA to evolve. She's not just in the game, she's transforming it. Think about it. When was the last time a rookie made such a significant impact? Clark isn't just setting records, she's redefining what it means to be a WNBA player. This shift has some people thrilled, while others are definitely feeling the pressure. So, what does all this mean for the future of women's basketball? Are we witnessing the dawn of a new era? Could the league need to rethink its rules, officiating, or even its overall approach to the game? What's next for Clark, and how will the league react? One thing is certain, nothing will be the same with her on the court. Keep an eye on this rookie sensation. She's not just playing basketball, she's pushing the boundaries of what's possible in the WNBA. Trust me, you won't want to miss a single moment of her journey.
Caitlin Clark was assaulted yesterday in her very first playoff game in the WNBA.
Did you hear about Caitlin Clark's tough start in her playoff debut? Things took a turn for the worse when Joni Carrington accidentally poked her in the eye.
But damn it, in the first 2 minutes of this game, this Dejanay Carrington stabbed Caitlin Clark with her fingernails right in the eye.
Now, everyone is anxious to see if Clark can bounce back for the next game, or if her season might be cut short before it really began.
We've seen the animus directed at Caitlin Clark all year. It reached a boiling point yesterday.
This was supposed to be a big moment for Clark as she stepped onto the playoff stage for the first time. However, everything changed in an instant.
Caitlin Clark played a terrible game, shot 4 of 17 from the field. The Indiana Fever got curb stomped by the Connecticut Sun. I get it. She had a bad game. Connecticut Sun looked good. They looked experienced. They brought a level of intensity and physicality that the Fever weren't ready for.
The hit from Carrington not only left Clark with a swollen eye, but also sent shockwaves through the basketball community.
There was no foul call. There was no real discussion of it on the ESPN broadcast. ESPN wrote a story after the game that did not mention that the biggest star in the history of the WNBA, the first woman to ever be the biggest star in American sports, was assaulted 2 minutes into the game on a dirty play with one of these women with these long fake fingernails that stabbed her in the eye.
You might think a little injury isn't a big deal, but it really affected her performance.
Do you think that had any impact on the game? Do you think that your meal ticket should be stabbed in the eye intentionally on the court 2 minutes into the game, and there's no problem here?
Clark's scoring plummeted from an average of 20 points per game to just 11. It's hard to believe how one incident could disrupt her impressive rookie season.
It's not worthy of discussion. I read this ESPN story. Alyssa Thomas had a triple-double and so scored X number of points, and the Connecticut Sun knock off the Fever. And I'm reading the story. I'm like, where's the mention of the fact that the Michael Jordan of the WNBA was assaulted, has a black eye during the second half of the game because Dejanay Carrington stabbed her with her fingernails in the eye?
This situation is bigger than just Clark and Carrington. It could change the WNBA landscape.
Caitlin Clark's trying to pass the ball in the first 2 minutes of the game, and this woman swats at the basketball and somehow decides to turn her hand down and her fingernails and jab them right into the eye of Caitlin Clark.
How will the league respond? What does this mean for player safety?
No foul call. No refs stopping the game to go, is this a flagrant? None of that. Just everybody moved on. Your biggest star, your meal ticket, the reason why you have relevancy, just got stabbed and assaulted and nothing.
Stay tuned as we explore all these angles. A black eye might seem minor for a pro athlete, but for Clark, it impacted more than just her vision. Her entire game plan fell apart. Just how serious was it? Her coach had to completely change their strategy. The numbers tell a clear story about how challenging things became for Clark after that hit.
And Dejanay has a history with Caitlin Clark. Like many of these girls in the WNBA, but she's at the top of the list along with Kennedy Carter in Chicago and Angel Reese. Those three. But here's earlier in the season, Dejanay Carrington mocking Caitlin Clark on the court, played a very physical game with her back then too. And look, does Caitlin Clark do some histrionics, some flopping, and perhaps I'm giving them this out on what happened yesterday.
Normally, she scores around 20 points, but she managed only 11 this time, a staggering 45% drop in her output. To make matters worse, her shooting percentage dropped dramatically to just 23.5%. It's like watching a top shooter suddenly lose their skills.
It's not a natural act. And I called it out yesterday in real time watching the game. Like, hey, that was on purpose. That was not an accident.
But the struggles didn't stop there. Clark's entire game was thrown off balance. Those precise passes we expect from her turned into turnovers instead.
That was on purpose. Is Caitlin Clark making too much of it? Is she exaggerating it, trying to get the call? You can think both things. You can think, hey, this is on purpose and it's a dirty play. But you could also think, is Caitlin Clark making too much of this? And then later in the game, when they mentioned, like, hey, you can see the black eye on Caitlin Clark's face, I was like, oh, yeah, that was it. It was intentional, and it did real damage.
The plays that usually came naturally became forced attempts as she tried to push through despite her impaired vision.